All right.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Welcome to the sixth episode of PsyTalks for Psychologists, and I'm your host, Ms. Basha, Director at ICHAS, Institute of Clinical Hypnosis and Related Sciences. Today, we have with us Dr. Aman who's going to talk about transactional analysis. Before we go ahead, whoever is watching, feel free to ask questions in the comment section. We'll surely answer them. And also, you can start a watch party on Facebook so that other people can also benefit from it. One quick one-liner for the organization that we are. We are an organization that focuses on helping psychologists, coaches, trainers develop advanced coaching and therapeutic skills. A brief introduction about Dr. Aman. He's a highly trained relationship counselor, psychotherapist, trainer, and TA at a heart-to-heart counseling center in Mumbai, and he's also sought after corporate trainer and a mindset coach who also helps people and teams through various psychological issues. He also conducts various mental health care programs on anger and stress management, thinking and communicating effectively, and creative thinking through crisis. Dr. Raman brings a valuable insight and clarity through his unique storytelling and real life experiences and struggles so that one can sail through it. So, here we present and welcome Dr. Raman.
All right. I'm glad to be here among you guys. So, good afternoon to you. I'm assuming everyone's in the same time zone. So, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are.
Uh, yes, at least our local audience would be there.
All right.
So, Dr.
Fantastic.
Aman, a quick introduction if you want to give for yourself, and then we can start with our topic transactional analysis.
So, yeah, guys, those of you all watching, I am a psychotherapist. I have a clinical practice. Nowadays, because of the lockdown, I do consult mostly using, video conferencing platforms on Zoom or Skype. Before I entered the mental health profession, I used to be a television and media professional, which I did for a decade.
Wow.
And That's where I worked with places like Discovery, Sony Pictures, Paramount, MTV, Channel V, UTV, Star TV. I worked with all of them. I was in advertising. The reason I shifted to mental health was because I myself have dealt with some very dark phases in my life without going there, and also because I started thinking a lot about the phenomenon of change uh, and how that can really, set things rolling in both directions, either a favorable direction or a very dreary and strange direction. So for me, I always was obsessed with how can I change to be stronger, to be smarter, to be more interesting, to grow. And that's I mean I started reading a lot of books. I remember when I read I'm Okay, You're Okay by Thomas Harris at that time. Just the concept of ego states was so exciting to me because every time I tried to read Freud, I would go to sleep. But somehow, when I started reading
Poor thing.
when I started reading TA, I just found the concept so relatable, so exciting, and I think very, very straightforward. And I liked it so much. I actually wrote a book on the subject. It's called Essential TA:
Wow.
Common Sense Psychology. It's available on Amazon, soft copy, Kindle copy. Because I also felt that TA literature tends to really complicate the concepts of TA, and it tends to get complicated because there's so much jargon involved. So I have these workshops I run at the Heart to Heart Counseling Center, which are doing really well. And I have quite a few students. I have 78 people that are learning TA from me right now, currently through Zoom online learning. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Of course, I don't have to give you my Janam Patri. You can just Google me, go on LinkedIn, or my website amanbosle.com is there. So you can find out whether I like dogs or cats on Instagram. And I post a lot of silly things. I love movies. I love music, and I think I just love human beings. I love how crazy we are all, how creative we are, and how when we're pushed, really, really pushed, we can really do some pretty amazing things. I think. So yeah,
I
that's my.
second the thoughts. Yes.
So yes, that's where I come from.
That's quite an elaborate profile, Dr. Raman. Thank you so much. And let's move on to your subject, which is transactional analysis. What is transactional analysis? How would you explain it to the layman as well as to our colleagues or practicing other psychologists or mental health care professionals?
I find transactional analysis is a very accessible theory of personality, but it comes under the umbrella called social psychology. So we are the TA looks to understand how human beings behave around other human beings, because TA believes that human personalities are formed as a result of that kind of social conditioning that they go through around their families, around their friends, around their close ones, and that is what forms a human being's personality. So TA is big on trying to understand what are these changes that take place within us. We call it phenomenological changes that take place within us that make us a certain way. So as human beings, are we very lazy? Are we very prone to guilt? Are we full of anger? Is it very easy for people to bully us? Are we extremely nurturing and caring, and therefore people really like to have us around? Or are we really funny? Or do we just have trouble following the rules, coloring within the lines? So, how do these personality traits get formed? And uh, what are these unhelpful qualities versus what are these helpful qualities? So, TA looks to understand pattern based behavior, because everything that we think about, everything that manifests as behavior, essentially becomes repetitive and habit based. So TA is kind of like personality hacking, I call it. Trying to really hack into the way we are. Why are we this way? Since when have we been this way? And do we need to change? If yes, how? If no, why not? So TA is all about that kind of investigation process. So I tell my students that if you're studying TA, you're part social worker and part detective. You know, so you got to have a little bit of both. So you got to be able to read through human beings, but at the same time, just because you analyze them, just because you can see more than they see, shouldn't make you arrogant. Me, the
True.
analyst who knows better
Right.
than you. Me, the
Yeah.
analyst who's going
Right.
to tell you how to live your life. You know what I mean, Miss Ba?
Yeah.
So that's a very,
I
very
completely.
layman's description to TA, a theory of personality, social psychology. The founder was Eric Berne, and he formed it in. Then I always, when I first started reading TA, I remember that TA was born the year my dad was born, which is 1958. So that's how I remember TA. And of course, so many other concepts: parent, child, adult ego state, structural diagram, all kinds of things. But I won't get into that till you ask me those specific questions, because I don't want it's like a tsunami of information. पहले दोपहर का वक्त है, पता नहीं किस किसने चावल खाए, चावल खा के बैठ गए, नींद आ
चावल
जाएगी।
खाए भी होंगे तो डॉक्टर हम उनको जगा देंगे, हम उनको बोलेंगे क्वेश्चंस पूछिए, जितने चाहिए इतने क्वेश्चंस पूछ लीजिए. वी हैव अ नॉलेज का भंडार विद अस as of
Sure.
what I understand what's coming. So, Dr. Aman, quickly we are going to say a hi and a greeting to everybody who's watching this online. So, you can also say hi. So, there's Gopi, Banu, Vakman, and Kathy, and
Where can I see these
Jaspreet.
mysterious people? Can I see
You
that?
would be able to see Dr. Raman on ICHA's Facebook page because we are live there.
Okay, okay, okay. Wow. Okay. So I'm only on the app right now. So okay, I can't
You
see
are right
anybody.
now on the app. You won't be able to unless and until you open up your Facebook, but then you'll be looking there. तो कोई बात नहीं है, हम आपके क्या बोलते हैं thoughts communicate करते हैं.
All
So
right,
yeah,
all
a
right.
quick hi to everybody. And Dr. Aman, more so, I'm going to ask you about importance of transactional analysis. What would you say on
See, I tell
in the
people,
work?
I think TA, because it's analysis heavy. So the way I teach it, I always tell my students that if you're able to analyze your personality, your patterns, your habits, repetitive habits, especially that are sending you down the rabbit hole better, then those tools become that much more accessible to you when you take it into your clinical practice or as a therapist. Okay, TA is all about. TA believes in three things: people are okay, people can think, people can change. And TA is all about helping you become more autonomous. So basically, you're free to do whatever you want, more spontaneous. So, you don't get thrown off when life sort of hands you, a couple of difficult days or difficult situations to deal with. TA is also big on intimacy. TA says if you want something, if you feel something, say it, express it. And TA is all about being honest about your intentions, all about being very linear in the way in which you approach human beings. Don't be fake, don't lie to them, and preferably don't say something you don't mean. So that's the space TA comes from. So constantly looking to give human beings a reason to be authentic, spontaneous, and intimate with each other.
I think I can totally relate to what you just said about TA, and I find my personality out there in it completely.
Yep.
What exactly you said, I can so very well relate to it. Yes, I think it's going to be very interesting to know more about the subject. And Dr. Raman, how can it be used with TA can be used with other techniques, other modalities that we work while we work as a therapist or psychotherapist or as a coach?
I think TA can work with any modality, but because TA is a directive form of therapy, it really involves, you being very potent as a therapist in the first place. So if you're going to be teaching the client something, you need to be seen as an authority figure. If you come across as someone who can't walk the talk, then that's a problem. TA can be basically is all about giving your client the power to see themselves differently. So you want to also be somebody who gives them the permission to annihilate old ideas, archaic thinking patterns that they may have introjected, especially in their childhood years. If, for example, if they have a parent who always told them to shut up, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking, you're foolish, you're stupid, you're giving me a headache. See, your mom is not well because of you. Now that haunts you through your life, and you become this
True.
really subservient and quiet person. Now, such a person might not get promoted in the office despite being very hardworking because he's not a good speaker. He's always been told to shut up. He may come with the presenting problem of depression, but actually, he may not be depressed. He is just stuck in his pattern of don't open your mouth. So, basically, that's what we refer to as an injunction in TA, which is a strong emotional message that you carry in your subconscious. So, we have to work with them to help them realize their injunctions, and then we have to create, sort of a sort of clear pattern in which they can break through. Then we also do something called script analysis in TA. So we try to help people understand what are the scripts that they are following. Then there are something called script processes also. So you have different types of script processes. Of course, it's a little technical. Then there's life positions. How do you see yourself in relation to the world? What is the perceived value that you see in situations in the world in general? Some people say these things, right? The world is a horrible place. The world is an unfair place. The
Yes.
world is full of bullies. The world is full of cheats. The world is full of right wing fascists or whatever, you know. So these perceptions of yours, TA really tries to understand. And what are these invisible driving forces within you, which seem invisible to you, but with TA, it's like seeing it through an X-ray. So once you know, like when we see X-rays, we only see gray and white colors. But you show it to
Right.
a radiologist, and he will instantly know what is where, and he'll just look at it in 1 second and say, "I can so clearly see it." Why? Because he has the training. He knows to how to look beyond the colors. He knows about the anatomy. Similarly, TA helps you sort of understand your psychological anatomy and how different parts of your brain house different memories and different emotions, and how you choose to access those aspects of your personality to move towards greater solutions to your problems. That's what it's really about. That's what TA is excited to explore, right? And that's something that can be married to any form of therapy, whether you do CBT or whether you believe in the more Rogerian approach, which is client centered therapy, whereby you mainly put the onus of change on the client and get them to really deep dive into it and sort of think about uh, what they are doing or not doing that contributes to the mess in their lives, the problems in their lives. So whatever form of therapy that you are accustomed to, whatever form of therapy that you patronize, the fact is that you have to see what the client needs. It's not just what are my favorite tools and I want to show the client how much I know, or I want to show the client uh, how quickly I can help them change, right? And as I said, TA is looking to make you more authentic, more autonomous, so that you don't rely so much on other people constantly for their approval. You're not what I call an approval junkie, and you are very sure of yourself. You're able to be spontaneous. You're able to build really good intimate relationships. Intimate doesn't just mean sex, doesn't just mean you
Right.
fall in love. No, you can form a very intimate relationship with your sibling as well. You could be great friends. You could be have a great chemistry with your business partner, your startup partner. So TA is all about making you more authentic to yourself, more autonomous, so you're not, so no one can really pull your strings, more spontaneous, so you don't get thrown off guard when life throws you a curveball, and to form more intimate relationships so that you don't feel like you've been cast away, and then you're just kind of trying to stay afloat. So yeah.
That's quite an
That's quite
interesting.
interesting.
So I had a question, Dr. Aman, that when you said that there are certain people who बोलते हैं कि like you're given the example that life is difficult or it's full of hardship and it's full of challenges. उसके अलावा that's maybe most of the negative things they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Then there would be some people who would say that life is a bed of roses, or just an example, or it's very beautiful, or it's very serene. So there's a positive and a negative way people see it. So is having both of it okay, not okay, or क्या होता है मतलब?
See, Misbah, we all have priorities. No one gifts us these priorities. We create these priorities based on our personalities, based on our habits, based on our dreams, based on what we've been taught or what we've been exposed to. Like if you have somebody who says मुझे सीए करना है, क्यों करना है, पापा बोलते थे, so you don't even know what it entails. So this whole concept of is it good, is it bad, these are very subjective things. I always tell my students, I say, let's avoid using words like good or bad. Let's use words like functional and dysfunctional, helpful and unhelpful, adjusted or maladjusted, because these are more accurate. Good bad kya hota hai? Matlab, this is not second
Yeah,
standard
they're
English.
quite vague. It's quite
As I say,
vague. Yes.
I said we have to be very, very, very careful with how we use our vocabulary, because what happens is then we sort of force feed ideas in our own mind. So you will have some, as I tell my clients and students, I say you'll have some shitty days and you'll have some fantastic days. So you don't have to only expect to have achhe din, as Modi's promising, or crazy days, or lockdown days. See, we've had good memories as well. But now, currently, we go through a bit of a dark phase socially, psychologically, economically, and nobody really knows when this is going to end. So I tell people, यार इसी को तो जिंदगी बोलते हैं. Some days, and if you've been through difficult times in your past, you're better prepared to deal with adversity. But the key is to really use your mind in creative and very, I think, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Creative and collaborative ways. So look to reach out to other human beings, not because they're going to give you a solution to your pain, but because you would like to learn from them, and in learning from them, you may chance upon the solution. Not through magic, but just because you are that much more observant. So the way I see it, TA is kind of like a stencil. So if you want to draw something and you have a stencil and you draw using it, you're able to make the shape perfectly, exactly what
Right.
you wanted. If you try to freehand a triangle or freehand a square or a circle, you are probably going to get it. But when you do it with a stencil, that shape is perfect. It's as if it was done
Accurate.
on a computer software. So you want an accurate picture of your personality. And why do you want this picture? To impress Modi ji? Of course not. You want it so that you have clarity. And why do you want clarity? You want clarity so you can live a happier life. And why do you want to live a happier life? Because nobody likes to be miserable over a sustained period of time. It gets stressful. It affects your family. It affects your work. It affects your ability to really get the good things in life. So and a lot of people spend so many years not understanding themselves, and because they don't understand themselves, they may be doing really some really annoying things or some really strange things that might be distancing people from them. Not social distancing, but psychological and social and emotional distancing. People say, "यार, इसको मत बुलाओ यार. इसका तो हमको समझ में नहीं आता." They'll say something like that, and you are like, "यार, अंदर से तो I'm a nice guy." But when people say, "इसका हमको समझ में नहीं आता," please. So, and people say I'm stuck within my personality. So every time you feel stuck in life, TA has an answer for that. So that's why I feel, how can we use it? Obviously, first learn your jargon, do your reading.
Mhm. Right.
Typically, if you want to learn TA, contact me. We have courses that we offer, and we happy to give you the information and to get you on. And I've been teaching on Zoom. I've been teaching online, and it works beautifully. And we all have a lot of fun. All my students really appreciate some of the insights that they have arrived upon that
Mhm.
basically tell them more about their personalities. And that's that as I say, self understanding leads to self sufficiently, leads to self development, leads to some kind of, it leads to self awareness. Everyone uses this word like awareness, change,
Yes.
transformation, take back the power, positive mindset. These words are used like very commonly, so much that it almost gets irritating when people use these words. What the hell does it mean? हमको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. What is all this? But so TA takes the ambiguity out of the process of change by telling you what do you need to change, not giving you this half baked stuff like थोड़ा positive रहो, अंदर positive feel करो. No one, and if you're having a really bad week, अंदर positive feel करो is not going to work for you. You can look in front of any mirror, write
True.
a blank check to yourself. It doesn't work. I don't believe in that
True.
stuff. I want to give you something that it's like if someone is really hungry and you say अपनी आँख बंद करो and imagine you had some rice. ऐसा थोड़ी होगा. I need to give you real rice, no? If you're going to feel hungry. So TA is all about removing that parda, lifting that parda, so that you are able to see yourself differently and see yourself better.
Lovely. So let's just check if we have certain questions online. And
Yeah.
yeah, there are a lot of questions. So somebody's asked, is change through TA in lifelong? Because I have seen many modalities clients face the same challenges and problems after a couple of months. So is
I
the
believe it.
change through TA
I
lifelong?
believe. I believe it's lifelong. See, when I was a student of TA, before I became a teacher of TA, I did a lot of what they call self work, and I realized some things about myself. As I said, I started learning how to draw the circle and the square using a stencil, and I was appalled at how many aspects of my personality I had not known. And I had always thought that I have a very strong degree of self awareness. But when I realized so many things about myself, uh, I realized also about certain mistakes I had made with some of the girls I used to date in college when I was much younger. And I realized that they were all had one common factor, obviously, which is not for you to know, for me to know. Uh, and it shocked me that I never saw. I used to always think they're very different from each other, but it turns out I had a type, and that type fulfilled was what in TA we refer to as my script partner or my game partner. And I was constantly getting in the same situation over the years, and then that sort of shook me out of my slumber.
Now
And
that's a
obviously,
very interesting incident, and I'm sure we want to know it later on.
yeah, good luck. I'm not going to tell you about my personal life. I'll tell you I'm a cat person more than a dog person. But it really, so think about this. If there are people in your life who've let you down, if there are jobs in your life that you didn't enjoy, if there are moments from your childhood that really pissed you off, you want to revisit them using the knowledge of TA to be able to investigate it better. You know how in movies, when you don't get the desired evidence, how you go back to the crime scene and this time you go with someone else and you put on the UV filter light and suddenly you see blood stains where you couldn't see any before, right? And you start trying to figure out, how did we miss this? That is how you need to, your life is like one of those crime scenes, crimes committed against you. Life isn't fair, guys. Life can be pretty hard. A child who's happy may not be seen as happy. They may say ये तो पागल है, हमेशा हंसता रहता है, या तो इसको देखो, इस लड़की को खी 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 हंसती रहती है, कौन करेगा इससे शादी, ऐसे हंसेगी तो अपने ससुराल के घर में. These are things said by adults to 7-year-olds, to 11-year-olds. How ghastly,
This is
how
so
dis-
true.
how disgusting, how disgusting, right? I was very outspoken and I spoke well also. And I remember my teacher once shouted at me in front of the class saying, "You're a distraction. You only have questions. You don't know how to take instructions. If you talk so much, you will not, you will not go anywhere in life." And I remember the teacher told me, then I was in the eighth standard, no one is going to pay you to talk so much. And now
Sure.
it's उल्टा ही हो गया, मतलब now I get paid to talk, only to talk. So it's I took that as a challenge in my eighth standard. I said, "You think?" I said, "You think really?" So I remember in art class, I used to try to draw, and I used to draw spaceships, and I used to really like guns and action movies. And my teacher used to say, "वो देखो fruit का basket है, वो fruits draw करो." I said, "I don't bloody draw fruits. I bloody eat fruits यार. वो भी पसंद नहीं है, मैं खा लूंगा, एक संतरा खा लूंगा." So you see, adults have this tendency to want you to fit into their plans and designs, and that screws us up in ways that even we don't know till we grow up, until someone else tells us, "Why are you like this? Why are you like that? Why are you not able to have fun? Why are you so always in a hurry? Why are you such a perfectionist? Why do you not show your emotions? Or why are you always trying to please everyone? They don't care that you try so hard." Or, all these things come from somewhere. They're investigated in TA week. We call them drivers. We study them as injunctions. We study them as hungers. Then there are certain emotions that your family was okay with you feeling, but if you felt the other emotion, they said, "नहीं नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये allowed नहीं है." For example, if a boy gets angry and beats people up, father will say, "ये मेरा लड़का है, पता है, चार लड़कों को पीट के आया है." If a girl does that, they'll be like, "ये लड़की होके इतनी violent कैसे? मतलब तुमको कल माँ बनना है, तो तुम कैसे अपने ऐसे ऐसे करोगी तुम? अपने पति पे हाथ उठाओगी?" In India, these are such commonly said things. लड़की गुस्सा होती है तो
So
नहीं,
true.
इज अ प्रॉब्लम, कौन करेगा शादी, बॉय गेट्स बीट्स पीपल अप, अरे मेरा देखो छोटा सिंगम आ गया, हाँ, चार लोगों को पीट के. इफ अ बॉय क्राइज, छिची, लड़कियों की जैसे रोता है. इफ अ गर्ल क्राइज, दिल से, हाँ क्या हुआ मेरी बच्ची को. सी देयर आर डिफरेंट रूल्स फॉर द जेंडर्स. आपके फैमिली के पास कितना पैसा है, इस पे भी काफी रूल्स डिपेंडेंट होते हैं. सो lot of things like racket feelings, etc. in TA explore these concepts. What are the emotions we are showing versus what we're feeling? We also teach something called types of transactions. So some people will not say what they mean and not mean what they say. So, like typically, if you see that Madhur Bhandarkar movie, page 3, people will see each other. "Oh, wow, so nice to meet you. You look so lovely." And actually, you want to say, "आ गई मोटी फिर से मेरे मुंह लगे नहीं, चलो ठीक है, हेलो बोलना पड़ेगा." So you see how we are so disingenuous as a species in our interpretation and exhibition of what we really want to say. So for me, TA is all about removing all that silliness and all that ambiguity, so that we really don't bullshit ourselves and don't bullshit other people as well. So that's what it's really about. That's why my book is called A Common Sense Psychology. That these things should be common sense, but unfortunately, your school system has you remembering parts of the flower. Who was when did Alauddin Khilji come to India? Who was Shivaji Maharaj's wife? What was her name? When was the Congress Party formed? And when did Subhash Chandra Bose form the Azad Hind Sena? You have to remember the dates and reproduce them. So pretty much futile information. No one has you learning how to grow your wealth. No one has you learning how to communicate better. No one has you learning how to understand your
Absolutely.
person. No one teaches you how to cook, such a vital skill. चली गई ना कांता बाई, अभी सब पानी कैसे
I'm
आपको
sure
क्या है दो.
everybody could relate to that.
So our
I'm
school
sure
systems
everybody
are
could relate.
our school systems are designed to turn us into workers, not into leaders. Remember this. So the way I see it, if you're going to be a worker, then okay, then you are set for the BPO world. But people like Steve Jobs, Einstein, is it any surprise that they were never successful in their academic careers? What do all these
No.
people have in common? Their teachers didn't like them and they didn't like school. So that
Right.
so I think TA is like the alternate school that gives you the knowledge that you need to really succeed as an individual first, as a communicator. In your relationships, you will succeed if you know TA better. You'll know how to modify your personality based on who you are talking to or what you're trying to accomplish. Those goals will keep changing based on what you need from the situation and who you are speaking to in the moment.
So, Aman, I think there are certain other questions also. Does it help in addiction?
Well, you can understand the source of the addiction, definitely. But the addiction is a needs the intervention definitely of a medical doctor. You will definitely need to go to a de-addiction expert. Um, so, what are we talking about? Are we talking about addiction to substances or addiction to certain ways of thinking? That can also be an addiction. Some people are
True.
addicted to
True.
playing the victim game. मेरे साथ बुरा हुआ मेरे साथ कितना बुरा हुआ पता है कितना बुरा हुआ my family didn't like me my partner left me my industry forgot me पैसा नहीं मिला some people enjoy है ना they're in their 70s and 80s अभी भी रोना खत्म नहीं हुआ they don't realize no one cares and I can tell this to all my clients and then my students as well. Nobody cares about how miserable you are. Only you care about it. Okay. So if you want to get out of it, it's in your hands. There are tools available. I will teach you those tools. I will show you the way, but I can't put a gun to your head and make you do it. Let's be realistic. Let's not be silly about it. It's going to hurt. Anything that you do for the first time is going to hurt. When you learned how to walk, you fell down several times. Okay, that time your mother and father didn't say "Nahi, nahi, theek hai, let him keep crawling all his life. Let him not learn how to walk. You learn how to walk by falling 100 times. Similarly, you learn how to live also by falling through several traps. So, addictions is a completely different specialty. I'm not a de-addiction expert, but there are
Mhm.
people out there, combination of homeopathy. I believe even hypnotherapy. You guys do some stuff with addiction, etc. Right? I'm not.
Yeah, we
It's
do.
not my
Yeah,
area. It's not my area to speak about.
we
So
do
there are several
population.
models. You know what the problem is actually, Misbah? The problem is that everyone who represents a certain school of psychology is trying to
Mhm.
pitch it as the best approach. So obviously, I have a bias towards TA because I'm author of a book and I teach it. But I will not be arrogant to say TA is the only thing you need to solve all problems of all clients and
Absolutely no,
problems.
because it's important while you're working with clients that you have an eclectic approach because not वो ऐसा है कि एक लकड़ी से तुम सबको चला नहीं सकते.
Correct, absolutely. The way you have a balanced diet to fulfill all your bodily needs, you need a balanced therapy mandate as well. So there's so many forms of therapy: gestalt, psychodrama, reality therapy, narrative therapy, CBT, old school, new school, REBT, Rogerian, Robert Karkoff model, TA. मतलब आपको जो सीखना है आप सीख लीजिए. But then it's like a bag of tricks. Anyone seen that movie Mary Poppins? कैसे वो अपने एक ही बैग से
Yes,
अचानक she takes 100 things out depending on what she
yes,
needs to do for the children.
needs.
So you're Mary frickin' Poppins basically. You need to pull out all kinds of things from your bag based on what the children need. As a therapist, you have to see your clients almost like a parent sees their child. They need your nurturance, they need your protection, they need permissions from you to if like sometimes you may have to help them finalize a divorce. Sometimes you may have to save them from having a divorce if you know that the reasons are not merited and they can definitely do something about it. So you are almost as a you're like an emotional custodian, moral gatekeeper. So you need to see them as almost with that kind of nurturance, and that needs to be genuine and heartfelt. Otherwise it won't work. So you use all these modalities, whether someone is addicted, whether someone needs a psychiatrist. Sometimes they need to be given their fludax and nexitos. There's no escaping it. If someone has OCD, someone is like if I get a schizophrenic who comes in to see me, I'll send them for a personality testing, send them to my clinical psychologist to confirm that there are delusions, etc. And then that person will not continue therapy with me, at least till they don't get started on on some kind of medical medically approved course of recovery, where they're given their pills and they're given their sessions, etc. So many more music therapies there for people with more extreme issues. There's
Yes.
art therapies for younger people. So ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ टीए में ये चलता है क्या सब कुछ. So I'm not arrogant about my modality. Of course, I'm biased towards it, and I will be. Why won't I be? I love it so much. I wrote a book on it. So the fact is that I will not hard sell it, but I will definitely say it answers most questions. And if you are
Mhm.
intellectually curious, if you're someone who's generally very curious and you like the process of discovering, if you like watching Sherlock on Netflix, or you like the detective process, "Okay, I want to figure out why I became this way," then TA is definitely for you. Then it's a detective series like no other. It will send you deep inside yourself and pull out some frightening things, some fantastic things, and some very, very shocking things, which you need to know. And then
Right.
use that knowledge to improve yourself, and then teach that knowledge to help other people work on themselves as well.
Mhm. Lovely. I'm going to take up another question. Somebody's asked if you could share more on child ego and adult ego with an example, if you could share a real life example.
So there's something in TA called the. So you see, let me again. Feels like I'm selling my book. You see, I have on the book. There's a PSE diagram. These three
Yeah,
ice cream scoops.
yeah, yes,
So this is called. I designed that. It's just a struct. This is basically a modification of the structural diagram, which is basically you'll see these three circles on top of the other. So I refer to them as the ice cream scoops of awareness. Okay, just for fun, I tell people. So these three golas are basically like I tell people, imagine them like three folders in your computer, and each folder has a very specific purpose. It has a very so one folder has only documents and maybe instruction manuals. One folder has only emotions, and one folder has original thoughts. So the parent ego state is sort of the folder or the gola, which has all the messages that you have um, learned from authority figures at a certain age, vulnerable age. For example, always respect your elders, never interrupt
yes,
somebody, never waste food. You must be honest. Honesty is the best policy. You must respect your elders. So these rules that were taught to you know, never be lazy. Lazy people, and there's something Nehruji used to say apparently, right? What is it? Aram haram hai, etc. So these things stay in your mind as cookies. The way you have to keep clearing your cache on the internet, right? If your browser is hanging, so these stay as in your cache folder. The only thing is they don't go, never get deleted. They never go to the recycle bin. So think of them as recordings that basically you can never turn them off, but you can reduce the volume. So your parent ego state, which is the topmost gola, has all the things you have learned. Your child ego state has all your original emotions, unfiltered, uncensored emotions: greed, anger, sadness, fear, all these things, stress and anxiety as well. All these emotions are felt when you were first a baby, sort of when you got out of the womb. And it was an interesting 9 month holiday where it was completely dark. You were growing, suddenly you're yanked out, ulta latka diya, gave you a few patkas on your butt. Suddenly you're wrapped in this blanket. You can't move, you don't know what's happening, your eyesight's not developed, you don't know speech, you don't know the world. Either the AC is too cold in the hospital bed, or that blanket is driving you nuts. All you can do is you start crying loudly, and the adults are supposed to figure out what's happening with you. So we all believe that the process of a child coming into this world is filled with emotional experiences that even they can't understand. That's why it's called the child ego state. So um, definitely this is much easier to explain when I have diagrams and examples to show. Right now तो bouncer गया होगा to some of y'all who have never heard of TA. And the adult ego state, which is the center circle, is where all original thought takes starts taking. So you see, you never have to tell a baby to try to touch that little thing you hang above his bed, but he wants to touch it and see, hey, तो हाथ लगाया तो हिलता है क्या? So there are certain original ideas that we have, that manifest in our lives, um, and that's because our brain is growing, and our experiences are kind of getting fed into that as the mammals with the largest brains on this planet. We are able to crunch that much more information and not just learn about our planet, but also learn about the entire galaxy, etc. We don't know if there is alien life out there, but we do know that at least here in this solar system, it's just us, and we're trying to figure out what to do. So the human brain is a wonderful tool, and it's capable of a lot of originality. So there's either what you have learned, or there's the emotions, or there's the originality, the ability to be practical, rational, unbiased, organized, like a supercomputer, to crunch information, to make the best decisions. So the adult ego states, as we define it, job is to keep the parent and child ego state in check, like a referee, like a captain. Captain decides the batting order in cricket because he knows who's his star opening player, and he knows end में जब sixes मारने होते सहवाग को भेजते हैं. He knows. He knows how each player plays. So the adult ego state's job is to be like a factory manager who knows कि lunch break कितने time के लिए देना चाहिए, etc. So these are different aspects of our personality, and TA theory was basically born out of the study of neuroscience, and also there were some ideas that Eric Berne borrowed from psychoanalysis, the tripartite structure of personality, id ego, superego. But they are very abstract concepts. He actually married that system with his understanding of the fact that human brain has different emotional and memory banks. So there are different parts of the brain that house different information. So he used that knowledge of neuroscience, which he basically picked up from Dr. Wilder Penfield's experiments. And then he created the ego state theory and spoke about life positions,
Mhm.
scripts, etc.
Dr. Aman, any kind of challenges or limitations that they are there while working with TA?
If you're not good at explaining things in general, you will struggle with TA. Like for me, one of my strengths I realized is I'm able to take complicated things and make them very stupidly simple. Anyone will be able to understand it. I'm not trying to praise myself, and even if I am, there's nothing wrong
No,
with
no,
that.
I
We
can
teach that
completely
as
relate.
well. We even teach that in TA. Nothing wrong in praising yourself if you know you do something well. We have a chapter on stroke theory where we talk about that stroking myths and stroke diet, stroke profile, stroke economy. So the idea is if you're good at explaining things, if your client is well spoken and intellectually cued in to what you are trying to um, really impress upon them, then TA is a tool without comparison. But if the client is going through a just very deeply emotional issues, and maybe talking to them is not going to help, in that case, things like psychodrama and gestalt are very, very powerful, I would say. But then gestalt is also time consuming, and gestalt in India is at a very nascent stage. The empty chair technique, etc., the parent interview. There are several techniques within gestalt. Also, Gestalt requires a lot of physical movement, and to create the figure ground relationships and sitting in a circle, etc. So it's a lot more dynamic, and some people may not be up for it. So what I say is the limitations are not to TA, but to the person who is trying to explain TA. So I very often, if I want to understand if someone is good at explaining things, I'll tell them to take their favorite movie and give me the plot in one sentence. And most people are not able to do it. अरे उसमें शाहरुख खान है और वो लड़की के पीछे जाता है और वो पाकिस्तान की एक्चुअली होती है बट एक्चुअली इज एन एयरफोर्स पायलट इसलिए उसने उसको रेस्क्यू किया होता है एंड दिल गिव सच अ लॉन्ग डिस्क्रिप्शन हम लाइक वीर ज़ारा एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है कि अपना थीसिस मुझे समझा रहा है. It's a very straightforward. Man falls in love with a woman who he rescues, and he goes to find her in Pakistan, gets imprisoned, and then finds her again. One sentence, okay, with a few conjunctions. Are you able to do it quickly? And so, as a therapist, you have to be very articulate. If you're an inarticulate therapist, then it's a poor fit. Then you should probably not consider therapy. You can go into another aspect of psychology, go into research, maybe start publishing into journals, maybe go more towards the clinical side of it where you don't have to do one to one interviews as much. Yes, you do need some basic interviewing techniques, but it's more process driven. With therapy, it's very free flowing. You cannot You cannot throw survey sheets at your client's face. Fill these out. I'm going to draw a diagram. No, there you have to win their trust. So if you have the gift of the gab, TA is fantastic because you'll really be able to give them something beautiful that they can take home with them. So they won't need be dependent on you till they die. You know, that's the problem with psychoanalysis. वो 15 साल
Yes,
से client है आपका, 15 साल से therapy
I
चल रहा है
like
तुम्हारा. बाप रे,
that.
मतलब that means either you're a really shitty therapist and you don't know what you, तुम बस अपने आप को दाढ़ी उगा के expert you know like the old psychotherapist ऐसा वो pipe लेके बैठेंगे. You know, it is basically they'll use all kinds of jargon. Your
Jargon. Yeah,
impulses go back to harken back to a time in your childhood. फैंसी मत बनो यार. दर्द से गुजर रहा है वो इंसान, पैसे दे रहा है आपके सामने बैठने के. If they wanted to hear about positive thinking, they can watch Sadhguru on YouTube for free. He's not. He's a nice guy. I like him. No, 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 no making fun of him. Watch Sadhguru. Watch whoever. Watch Eckhart Tolle. Why are they paying you money and sitting in front of you to admire your
right.
degrees? London से किया कि आपने US से किया. They need help. Give them the tools. Get them to practice the tools. Evaluate how well they are practicing those tools. You are not just an expert sitting there to show your expertise. You're also a human being trying to help another human being. So why are you in the helping profession? Right? Ask yourself that. So that's what I've. Those are my ethics.
Lovely. Um, I think we have somebody's also asked that whether does CA work with self-obsessed people or narcissists?
Oh yes, very much so. But people who don't want to change won't change यार. देखो एक चीज गांठ बांध के रख लो अपने दिमाग में कि किसी को अगर चेंज नहीं करना है ना, तो दुनिया की कोई भी
Mm.
शक्ति, मोदी खुद उनके घर पे आए ना, तो वो नहीं चेंज होंगे. God himself with his white beard or however he looks, if he's really there, comes and says change right now. नहीं चेंज होंगे. दिल भी तू कौन है भाई? यू आर इन कॉस्प्ले और व्हाट? सो डोंट wait around for people to change. They won't change unless they are afraid for their lives, or unless they are scared that something bad is going to happen or something is going to be taken for them, or unless they feel greedy that okay, I need this, I want this, I want people to love me, I want people to respect me, I want people to give me more money, I want people to give me their business. So that greed will make them change. अच्छी एक्टिंग कर लेते हैं कुछ लोग, है कि नहीं? So uh, that's what I feel. So if someone is a narcissist, someone is megalomaniac, self-obsessed, that means वो अपने बारे में ही सोचता है. Then why would he come and learn TA? He'll be like, नहीं नहीं, मेरे को नहीं सीखना है ये सब कुछ, बहुत है, तुम लोग का मालूम है, सब साला पैसे बनाने का धंधा है. So they'll be cynical, they'll be dismissive. मेरे को ही सब मालूम है, बाकी सब पागल लोग बैठे हुए हैं. But if you are curious, you want to learn, you know how to have fun, and you also know how to be serious. You have to be able to switch. In ego state theory, we say, can you be fun, but can you also be really serious? So I practice this in my real life. Before you guys came around, Misbah and I were faffing around here. We were talking about fish and all kinds of silly things. But now that I'm here with you, I'm able to dial it down so you guys get the information you need. But we're able to switch in and out of this role on call, not automatically. You understand? सो दैट इज व्हाट टीए टीचेस यू एज वेल, कि आपके लाइफ में कुछ भी आपके साइड से ऑटोमेटिक नहीं होता. फिर एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम योर साइड इज प्लान्ड. तो सामने से क्या आने वाला है दैट वी डोंट नो. वी डिडंट नो कोरोना वायरस आने वाला है. वी डिडंट नो लॉकडाउन
Correct.
4.0 में हम जी रहे हैं. वी डोंट नो. We don't know, yaar. So we have to have some humility and some acceptance also towards these things. कि भाई हर चीज हमारे हाथ में नहीं होती. हमारी पर्सनैलिटी, हमारी सोच, हमारी इच्छाएं, हमारी काबिलियत, ये हमारे हाथ में होती है. तो इसको हमको डेवलप करना है बढ़िया तरीके से.
Very well. Very well. Explain. Somebody's asked, looking at the difference of Sanjeev, TA and NLP changes. He said, I don't get your question.
See, I'm not an NLP practitioner, so I'm not going to comment on this. However,
Mm.
I can speak for TA. I believe NLP, from what I do know a little, is a lot about positive intentions.
It's
In
yes, it's about positive intentions
the
and it's
positive
about
intentions
rewiring
and rewiring positive
structure,
intentions, neural.
instructuring.
Correct. So that you can, so that, see, NLP is very popular with HR and corporates. It's fantastic. Some people who are trained in it, वही बोलेंगे. You know, I and TA is analysis based, and I think NLP is more positivity based. So that would be the mota mota difference. अगर आपको NLP करना है, I'm sure there are guys with longer beards than me who are teaching NLP online as well. You can do it, no harm, no harm. करके आओ और फिर मुझे भी बता कि क्या होता है. Because I've spent so much time in TA, and that's my alma mater, and I do other things as well. I'm also trained in REBT, and I do Rogerian style. So it meets my needs with my clients. But if I feel I need more tools, then I will maybe someday I'll also figure out what's happening in the NLP world. Why not, right? Always good to learn new things.
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. Somebody's asked that can one work with OCD?
OCD, in my opinion, requires not only TA, but it requires a lot more gentle Rogerian style. And you need to, as I said, you need to use a very eclectic approach. So what I call it is I call it samurai style counseling. So how a samurai warrior is ready for a defensive fight or an offensive fight. But the key is that the warrior knows what to do with the sword. So the sword can be used also. Just there are so many katas and there are so many methods in which you wield it. There are spins, there are maneuvers. So you have to do samurai counseling. You need to know what to do with that sword. Okay, you don't just have मेरे चार चार पैतरे हैं और मैं वही उसको घिसा पिटा यूज करने वाला हूँ. So I remember I had seen a webinar a few days ago, and there's this lady. All she kept saying was inner awareness and inner awareness, and she used that at least 8 times in one sentence. It's about your inner awareness and how that inner awareness makes your inner awareness, more potent, and therefore focus on your inner awareness. And at one point, I said, "Is inner awareness के सिवा और कुछ आता नहीं है क्या?" Because it made no sense to me. I almost felt like asking her, "Can you define inner awareness?" I don't know if she would have been able to. So don't use fancy words with your clients. Don't use fancy words with yourself. All right. So I try to speak in very simple ways. Are you happy with your life? Is your life shitty? All right. You want it to not be shitty? Okay. So we need to figure out what's making it shitty. Is it you that's making it shitty, or is it the circumstances? Or is it a combination of both? So I try to simplify it like that.
Very
So you have to actually, you can I can't speak this way to my 84-year-old clients because then they'll say, how can you say shit? So it depends on how you are dealing with who you're dealing with. That's why I mostly work with the youth, because somehow they see my beard and they trust me more, and I try my best to be as approachable to them, and as so I tell them that the whole world will lie to you, but Dr. Aman will never lie to you. I don't lie. You're not paying me your hard-earned money for me to lie to you and tell you सब ठीक हो जाएगा. अगर नहीं ठीक होगा, so then we need to figure out how to deal with it better. Like if your father is a drunk and he beats up your mom in front of you, me telling you सब ठीक हो जाएगा is a lie.
yes,
Either she leaves him or she leaves this world because he beat her too hard. So what do you need to do? We'll form an action plan. In what order do you need to figure things out? Do you need to be financially independent so you can get your mother from under his nose and move out? Is that what's required? If yes, what is the quickest way to achieve that financial independence? How do you deal with him? How do you involve the right authorities? Do you need to call a lawyer, a social worker, a cop, or all three? In which order? So that is the job of a therapist, samurai style. ये नहीं कि टीए में मैंने एक बुक लिखी है पता है और उसमें पता है चैप्टर 4 में लिखा है ये नो sometimes analysis is not required. Sometimes common sense is required.
common sense.
Yes, and sometimes you need to bring in other people as well. Mm. You need to bring in other experts as well. So you need to have a good network with other people and reliable people who practice ethically, because we've also heard of so many things, psychiatrists giving medicines, and then people put on weight, lose hair, they sleep too much, and misdiagnosed depression. So much it comes to me. Client खुद ही मेरे को बोल रहा है that I'm depressed. I'm like, no, you're not. That's the word
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
using. You're
It's,
not
it's,
depressed.
it's
You
very
might be very, hmm. It's very
mhm,
loosely thrown, isn't it, Miss Ba?
loosely
Loose,
thrown. Yes.
almost as if Deepika Padukone has made it fashionable to be depressed,
हाँ,
right?
ऐसा हो
Since
गया कि भाई आज मेरी बाई नहीं आई तो डिप्रेस्ड है,
I'm depressed.
आज चाय नहीं मिली तो
Yeah, I'm depressed
डिप्रेस्ड है.
क्योंकि चार दिन से चिकन करी नहीं खाया. So I mean, let's. So for me, the job of the therapist is also to help clients learn the value of things like gratitude, learn the value of things like being a lot more adaptive. Nobody misses their maid more than me. My maid used to make lovely mutton for me. and the mutton I make somehow just doesn't turn out as good. I know, but these are first world problems, guys. There are people walking back to their villages here. You try walking 6 kilometers also, पैर में छाले आ जाएंगे आपके. They're walking thousands of kilometers, yeah. So there are people with a lot. So every time I feel irritated or I'm frustrated, like I wanted to visit my best friend in Australia this year, and I was really keen. And then I was very frustrated when this lockdown began, and I said, "ये तो होने वाला नहीं है," because I was planning it for August. But then I realized, Aman, your problems are you can't go to Australia. There are people here who have problems that खाना नहीं मिल रहा है. There are problems here कि job नहीं है. I can sit in my kachas and still work, still see clients, still do webinars. So psychosocial education is a very broad umbrella, and you need to be very nimble in the way in which you pull out tricks. Remember my Mary Poppins example. You have to be Mary Poppins. It was one of my favorite movies while growing up. You have to pull things out.
Oh,
And
that
if you
is
notice, Mary Poppins, why am I constantly talking Mary? The thing is, why is Dr. Aman is obsessed with Disney? The fact is that what's so beautiful about that movie, when she needs to dance and sing, she dances and sings. But when she needs to put them to bed, she puts them to bed. नाटक नहीं मांगता है. So she's strict also. She's stern also. ये नहीं बच्चों पे भी नहीं बाप पे भी भारी पड़ती है in that movie. She even bajaws the father and
correct.
says, "What's wrong with you, boss? Like you got to figure
Yeah.
this out. Need to
If
be a
you
better
watch the
father."
last movie.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the beauty of you have to be very adaptive. ऐसे नहीं कि मेरा एक ही approach है. I keep every day I watch TED Talks. Every day I try to learn something new, and I have this little notebook in which I write down ideas, and then I store it somewhere online. And notebook जल गई खत्म हो गया तो it's still there on the internet somewhere, hidden location. So if I want to pull out interesting ideas, I have a bank in a library that I have curated of things I like. So there will be things you like as a psychotherapist. There are certain tools that you enjoy using with clients because you know those tools well, and somehow the clients also appreciate it. So I know some therapists are very big on paperwork and forms and homework, and some are just very natural in the way they speak. So you'll have to figure out what your approach is. The way different actors have different ways to act, right? And their performances, reflect that quality. It's very important for you to also change your approach based on what your client needs.
Somebody's asked, Dr. Aman, is adult a prominent in a person? As in, I think he's asking about the adult state. I mean, she's
See,
asking about the adult.
as I said, these are like three folders. Now, your computer has God knows how many folders, but do you open all folders equally? There are some folders you open more frequently than others. So, the adult ego state is like a folder. I would say access that folder as far as possible, as much as possible, but that doesn't mean you will forget you have other folders. So the adult ego state is what we refer to as the more rational, the more practical, the more balanced, the part of you that figures things out, that saves the situation, that isn't intimidated or bogged down, and is only interested in facts. The adult ego state is constantly and looking for facts. So you could say someone like Sherlock Holmes is constantly in the adult ego state because he doesn't care about people, he cares only about facts. And facts excite him. So this so it's not a constant. We keep switching in and out of these various ego states.
Right.
And even within that, you have the functional diagram, you have so in the parent ego state, you have categories, you have controlling parent, you have rescuing parent, you have nurturing parent. All these things are there. So yes.
So, any case study that you can share with
Say again. I
any
can't hear
case
you, Miss.
study?
Oh, it'll get complicated, guys. It'll get long and complicated case studies because what happens is jargon heavy here. And if I start throwing jargon at you, it'll miss the point. So for you to understand, um so I'll tell you what I do with my students is they have something called a self-awareness essay where they have to hack into their personalities and use all the concepts I've taught them. Each class of mine is 3 hours, and there are 14 such classes I take, as opposed to a 1 hour chat here. So how many hours of information, and they still don't understand certain concepts despite that. Audiovisual aid, I show a lot of movie clips while teaching. So don't get into case studies because they are not relevant. But understand
Mhm.
that if you're stuck within your personality, if you have certain habits which are keeping you from success, if you have certain emotions, okay, I'm still here. Yes,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
have certain emotions that get the better of you. So we always say feel your emotions, but don't become your emotions. Something I believe in. So TA teaches you how to separate. Sounds a little philosophical, but you can't feel an emotion without becoming it.
Deep.
So that's what I say. So don't worry about case studies. Worry about understanding the concepts first.
Mhm. So who all can learn tea?
Anyone. I
Uh,
believe even someone in their sixth or seventh standard can learn TA if the teacher is good. You need a good teacher. And unfortunately, the way TA is taught is it's become a bit of a big boys club. Do you have an MA and a BA? No, then you can't learn TA. I think it's bullshit. I came from the world of entertainment here. I was a hardcore TV branding advertising guy. I probably still look like one with this weird haircut I gave myself. But that's who I used to be. I've been that way for many years. All right. I had to cut my own hair. So I'm always trying new things, not just with my hair, but also with my mind. And TA embraces that spirit, which is why I love it so much. TA has no rigid rules. The rules are flexible. Yes, there are structures. Now, as I said, with a stencil, you can draw one triangle, but what if you draw multiple triangles on top of each other? ऐसा किया तो Toblerone लगेगा, ऐसा किया तो Christmas tree लगेगा. So you are able to combine the shapes into creating something beautiful, isn't it? So don't limit yourself just because you start off learning one modality. Learn as many as you can, as much as you have the time to learn, and your clients will thank you for it. Definitely.
Right. Any perspective change that you experienced with TA? Any
Personal
change?
changes. Personal changes. I used to be very unassertive when I was growing up because I had a desire to be liked. I wasn't a very popular kid in school because I enjoyed poetry, painting, music, and the boys enjoyed the football and cricket, which I still don't understand and can't stand. Drives me mad. And I don't understand how you can watch a ball being kicked around for 2 hours. I'd rather read a book. I admire art. I don't get it. So I wasn't a very popular kid, and obviously it didn't. I always wanted to be part of the cool group. Happens right when you're growing up, you want to be part
Yes.
of the cool club. But then you realize कि अपना आप कुछ मिट्टी ही अलग है यार मतलब I'm a I'm a fish trying to climb a tree. You know what I mean? Let the monkeys hang out in the trees. I'm a fish. Where's the water? That kind of thing. So TA helped me understand a lot of these things about myself. Why, and how do I constantly keep myself in check so that I'm not, I don't, so now consciously, I don't, worry too much about feedback. I just believe in myself. Say what I need to say. So if I get good feedback, it doesn't affect me. If I get bad feedback, it also doesn't affect me. I'm like, अपने को अपना काम मालूम है बॉस जितना मालूम है उतना अपन कर रहा है बाकी जिसको सुनना है जिसको नहीं सुनना है मोदी जी तो हैं ही टास्क दे देंगे आपको कुछ ना कुछ कर सकते हैं आप लाइफ में ताली बजाइए कैंडल जलाइए घर पे बैठिए करुणा को चिल्लाइए जिसको जिनको आना है वो आएंगे जिनको जाना है वो जाएंगे दैट्स द रूल ऑफ लाइफ आपको अपना रास्ता नहीं छोड़ना है किसी के लिए भी नहीं डोंट लीव इट फॉर योर पेरेंट्स डोंट लीव इट फॉर योर बेस्ट फ्रेंड फॉर योर वाइफ फॉर योर हस्बैंड योर रोड इज योर जर्नी आप अकेले आए थे आप अकेले मरोगे कब मरोगे किसी को मालूम नहीं है किसी को नहीं मालूम नो वन एक आपको पोस्ट कार्ड नहीं आता is on the announcing there used to be this website that I used to see in 1998 called the death clock where if you type your birth date it tells you which year you're going to die
Yes,
मेरे
yes.
को
I think there's certain
हाँ
apps also online where you can just they give you a detail
हाँ
that
अच्छा है ना
when is your death.
कंप्यूटर मेरे को बता रहा है मैं कब मरूंगा so it's
Absolutely.
so don't be as I tell people don't be silly and naive okay be clever and be uh, hungry for growth जिनको भूख नहीं होती उनको कुछ नहीं मिलता इफ यू आर हंग्री यू विल लर्न you'll figure it out so that is my wish for you guys to be hungry to never be arrogant कि मेरे को बहुत मालूम है, टीए मालूम है, डॉक्टर अमन का बुक पढ़ा, मेरे को सब दिखता है, मैं शर्लॉक होम्स हूँ। नो, डोंट बी एरोगेंट, डोंट बी एरोगेंट से देख भाई, हम बेवकूफ थे, हम बेवकूफ रहेंगे। इट्स अ जर्नी टुवर्ड्स better ways to do things.
True. It was a absolute pleasure talking to you, Dr. Aman, as we are ending to the end of the session. Actually, we are at almost end of the session. And I'm sure that everybody else online watching us also had a lovely time and a lot of resourceful information. So thank you so much, Dr. Aman, for your valuable inputs and your time, and thank you everybody watching us. And a small reminder for today's True Talks last episode, which is being going to be conducted by Mamta Sharma and Nitin Shah. It's going to be at 10 p.m. India time, and the topic for today is going to be mindfulness and application in sex therapy. For any further questions, you can visit us at www.ichas.com. And I'm going to see you all tomorrow again at 4 o'clock, which is going to be our seventh episode. Look, time actually flies, and the episode is going to be about psychological issues with special kids. So, thank you once again, everybody. And yes, Dr. Aman,
If,
you want to say something?
if you guys want to get in touch with me, just find me on LinkedIn as Dr. Aman Bhosle, or follow me on Instagram. I'm very active there. My Instagram account is lsnow8, which is spelled as ELSNOH and the number 8. lsnow8, one word. So just look for me, or just type Dr. Aman Bhosle Instagram on Google. You'll find that it's an open account. Follow me, stalk me, and you can we can stay in touch if you like what you heard here. And yeah, my YouTube channel is there, where I have explained several concepts of TA. So I do a lot of lectures on TA with my slides, etc. So if you want to, if you're very curious about TA, again, go on YouTube and just type Dr. Aman Bhosle. You'll find my YouTube channel. A lot of free videos, free content, free webinars I've done. And somebody
Okay.
opened the damn door.